Okay, so I thought the last Babysitter Storytime was the last one I ever had to make. I thought that it was over for good. I thought that I would never hear her name or see her face again in my entire life. But I guess I was wrong. Okay, so there's this lady, this girl, okay, who has been haunting my life for too long now. Way too long. Now, if you don't know anything about this Storytime series or this channel, there was this babysitter I used to have, and she was cool for the most part when I had her as a babysitter. She was a little bit, out there, and when she babysat me, there was some funny things she did and some crazy things she did, so I made a Storytime video about it. Fast forward, she sees the Storytime video, and she pops into my life years later, asking me all these bizarre things and trying to get the videos taken down. There's literally so much stuff, I can't even put it into one sentence. Like, there's just so much. I'll link the playlist in the description so you guys can check it out and get caught up to speed, because honestly, I recommend that you watch at least a few of them before you watch this video, because there's just so much backstory to this girl, it's not even funny. So yeah, she's back. In full effect, she is back, okay? So this all takes place about a week ago. If you guys didn't know, I'm just getting over being sick, and last week is really when it was like at its peak. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a flu or something like that. I had a fever and some other stuff. It wasn't COVID, but at the time I didn't know that. I was actually waiting on a negative test result, so I didn't know if I was positive or negative yet, and I didn't know if I had COVID. So I was just staying inside watching stuff on the TV, specifically iCarly. That show is a fucking slapper. I don't want to see any slander in the comments. I love that show. But yeah, I was watching iCarly, just isolating myself from the world basically. So this all starts off as a normal sick day. I wake up, I don't get out of bed, I just sit in bed and watch stuff all day. And I get about 3 hours into my day of just resting. And I start to drift back off into a sleepy state, and I start kind of falling asleep. And then all of a sudden, just as I'm about to fall asleep, I hear 3 loud bangs on my front door. Now, I was watching the TV show pretty loud, I was tired, I was sick. I honestly just thought that I imagined it. So I try and drift back into sleep, right? And then all of a sudden, as I'm drifting off, another 3 loud bangs on my front door. And I'm like, okay, someone has to be at the front door. Either that or I'm imagining shit and going crazy. So I get up out of bed, I fucking stumble downstairs, I'm like exhausted, I'm tired, and I walk up to my front door, and there's somebody standing on my front porch, just standing there with a really puffy jacket on and their hood up. I can't see their face, it's dark. So I turn on the porch light, and I turn on the light inside, and I still can't see their face. Like, they have it completely zipped up over their face. I can barely see their eyes. And I'm sick, and it's kind of hard to see because my vision was a little bit blurry from turning the lights on after being in the dark all day. And I was just like not all there. And like I said, it's hard to see who this person is, and I'm not going to open the door because I might have COVID, so I'm not about to open the door and get this random person sick. Like, I'm not going to do that. So I yell through the door, and I'm like, hey, please put your hood down, I can't see you. And this person nods their head no. So at this point, I'm like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. I'm like, all right, well, I can't open the door. I'm sick and I don't want to get you sick. So like, what is it that you need? And they start trying to talk through their jacket and like through the door. And I could not hear a word they were saying, but it did sound like a girl's voice. So I asked her to repeat herself. I'm like, hey, I can't hear you. Like, what are you saying? And all of a sudden, she unzips her jacket and puts her hood down, and I'm immediately greeted to the face of my former crazy babysitter. It was like I saw a fucking ghost. My spirit left my body for a second. The virus left my body. And I just yell back. I'm like, holy shit, what's up? And she goes, listen, Austin, I know you're not sick. I know you just don't want to talk to me, but can you please open the door and talk to me? I really just want to talk this out. And I was like, no, I'm really sick. I can't open the door. I might have COVID. I don't want to get you sick. And that was the truth. Even though me and her have had our disagreements, I'm not trying to open the door and give her some random virus, even if it's not COVID. I'm not trying to get people sick in general. So she's like, Austin, I know you're lying. I know you're not sick. You look fine. Just open the door, please. Now, that was cap. I did not look fine. I looked rough. And I was like, listen, I cannot open the door. I'm sorry. And I shut the light off and I start going upstairs. And she starts slamming my door, just pounding on it and screaming. She's like, Austin, don't walk away from me. I know you're not sick. Don't bullshit me. And I'm like, okay, this girl's gotten 10 times crazier since the last time I saw her. So I run upstairs, I put a mask on, I open my sliding glass door onto my balcony that looks down on my front porch, and I go on the balcony, which is like 10 feet above her head. So I think that this is a safe way of communicating. And I look over the balcony, and I go, can you please stop banging on my front door? And she looks up at me and she goes, come down here and talk to me face to face so we can settle this. And I'm like, no, I'm sick. What don't you understand? Do you really want to get sick? And she goes, take that mask off. I know you're not sick. Now at this point, I literally wanted to, just because she was pissing me off so bad. But of course, I'm not an evil human being, so I don't do that. And I was like, listen, you have already done a ton of crazy shit. Get off my property in the next 5 minutes or I'm calling the police. And she goes, oh, sure you will. I'm like, yeah, I will. Why wouldn't I? And she just doesn't reply to me. She just looks at me with like a death stare. And then all of a sudden, she runs up to one of the pillars on my balcony and literally starts trying to climb up my balcony. She's trying to climb up to the second floor of my house, onto my balcony where I'm standing, to talk to me and scream at me. And I literally have no idea why. So I just yell back down at her. I'm like, I'm calling the cops. And I take out my phone and I show her me dialing 911. And she drops down from trying to climb my balcony and she runs to her car as fast as she can, and as she's running away, she screams out, I'm coming back, Austin, you're not done. And she gets in her car, starts it, and drives off super fast. So at this point, I'm freaking out. I'm like, yo, she's coming back. She said I'm not done, whatever that means. So I immediately call up one of my friends, and I'm like, yo, she's back. He's like, who's back? I'm like, yo, the girl that used to babysit me, that crazy girl, she's back. He's like, yo, you need to get a restraining order ASAP. I'm like, I know. I'm like, yo, can you just please do me a huge favor? He's like, what's up? What do you need? I'm like, you just come over and like sit in my driveway for the next like 30, 45 minutes and make sure she doesn't come back. Cause like, I'm actually scared. She tried to climb up my house. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, she tried to climb up my balcony to the second floor of my house to try and talk to me face to face. He's like, what? Aren't you sick? I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, yo, she's insane. Yeah, bro, I got you. I'm like, thank you, man. Like, I'll pay you, like, whatever you need. He's like, nah, man, don't worry about it. So we hang up. He gets in his car. He drives over to my house. He parks in my driveway. I immediately call him up. I tell him what kind of car she drives. And if he sees that car coming towards my house, to just immediately call 911. And he's like, yeah, man, I got you. And he sits there for no joke, an hour and a half. Just sitting there, just literally guarding my house, being a lookout for me while I lay in bed, just sick as hell, watching shows, trying to rest and get better. And yeah, she didn't return the rest of that night, which was good. And up until this point, I haven't seen her again, which is very good. And even though she's crazy, and quite frankly, I'm scared of her, I was still excited to tell this story time to you guys because I know you guys would probably like it. And I hope you guys did like it. That's pretty much the end of it. I haven't seen her since. You already know if I do see her again, I'm going to make a story time about it. You don't have to worry about that. Trust me, I got you. But yeah, moral of the story is always lock your doors. Have a good security system if you can afford it. If someone like her is ever around your house being strange, just call the police. And yeah, be safe out there. But yeah, guys, I thought this story time was crazy, and I thought you guys would enjoy it. I hope you did. Please leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed this story time. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.
Like what's up? They leave me out for the dead, and now they know their fault. All my texts are unread, that's how I know she